Hi everybody. I have something new that I want to experiment with today. I recently saw a video that Tiffany Solario did and I just can't wait to try it, and I'm going to add my own twist to it. So we'll see how this comes out. Hope you like it. Stay tuned. Okay, here's what we did. Take some hand sanitizer, and that's too much. You'll see. Anyways, you want a layer of hand sanitizer all over the gel plate. I just took some time to smooth it out and realized at one point that I probably have a little too much on there. But the hand sanitizer will allow your alcohol inks to sit on the gel plate longer and not dry as fast. And it also really helps the alcohol inks move on the gel plate. So then I'm just picking some colors, and I think that was Ember. I really can't remember what all colors I chose. And later on I'm going to tell you where I thought some of these went wrong and how to correct that. This is Lagoon, I think. Just use colors combinations that you like. This is Djon. It's a yellow, kind of a greenish yellow color. These are all Ranger inks, alcohol inks. So once you have color pretty much everywhere, take a brayer and very lightly, little at a time, just move those inks kind of out of a puddle form and smooth them out just a little bit. Let them interact with one another. You can see I got a little bit muddy. I tried to wipe my brayer off a little bit. Then take your stencil and lay it down. I'm working on my 8x10 gel plates, so some of my stencils are smaller. I just overlap them. This is really just an experiment. I'm just seeing if I can duplicate what I saw Tiffany do. I will leave the link to her video in the description below. She got some fantastic results. So I don't know how many times she practiced before she filmed. She did a YouTube live, I believe. Anyways, what you want to do here is get the alcohol ink off the plate in those open areas of the stencil, just leaving behind the ink underneath the stencil. Now here's where I think I really went wrong, but this is critical. You want to take your alcohol lift ink, also a Ranger product, and put a little bit on. I think the amount that I had was okay. And then you want that to pretty much go over the whole jelly plate. And I'm looking at my plate in the light and realizing it's not covering the whole plate. So my mistake is going over it way too many times with the brayer, and I lifted too much of the ink off the plate and smeared it too much, so I lost the texture and definition from the stencil and just kind of created a kind of yucky mucky yucky mucky background. But just give it a good rub, as you do with your gel plate, regardless of what media you're using. It does come off really well, and surprisingly as far as I'm concerned, this was the best one that I did. But I'm still not really crazy about it. It's okay. It's kind of cool. So the rest of these, I think I did 2 more. And that's a better amount of alcohol or of hand sanitizer to put on the plate. You want enough, how can I explain this? You want enough that you got good coverage and you can see that there's a layer on the plate, but you don't want a ton on the plate, just enough that you can tell that the alcohol ink is going to move, and you can tell when you drop it. You see how it moves out right away. In the hand sanitizer that I used, it was a COVID bottle of hand sanitizer, so I don't know if there's more alcohol. It's 75% alcohol. So Tiffany, I think, used a Purell. So you might want to check the bottle. That might have something to do with how fast the ink is drying on the plate too, even regardless of the other ingredients in the hand sanitizer. At any rate, it did move out really well. She also used a smaller brayer, which I think she laughed about it, but I think it actually helped her be able to just kind of move the ink in smaller patches and not cause so much intermixing like I'm getting here. And then once you move it out, you can come back and add more, which is what I'm doing here. And then just move that around a little bit. Just trying to use like the very end of my brayer so that I don't mix it up so much. So at this point, I'm just going to speed up some of this. It's just repetition. I was just trying, to get a good result, but I'm just repeating the same process. Hand sanitizer, alcohol ink, brayer, stencil, which I forgot to do on this one, then the lift ink, and then pull in the print. And I'll touch more about pulling the print in just a few minutes. Okay, here we go on the last one, and this is when I went back and re-watched Tiffany's video and realized another critical thing that I did wrong on the previous pulls. So starting over, putting on the hand sanitizer, and that's about the right amount. I would say like the size of maybe a 50-cent piece, and then spread it out really well. Try not to get too many lines. So when you put on the alcohol ink, give the bottle a shake instead of putting on so many big drops. This is what Tiffany did. She had really great results. So more of a shaking motion to apply the alcohol ink to where you have more dispersed droplets kind of going everywhere and on top of each other. And I'm hunting. I have some Art and Fly alcohol marker re-inkers that I mixed with isopropyl alcohol and put into that little bottle. And then this next one, I wanted to try a darker color. This next one that I finally find the color I'm looking for in my box. But that's straight out of the re-inker bottle. The company is Art and Fly. I'll put it on the screen here in a minute. So that was kind of a burnt sienna brownish color, and then I had Botanical, and I think the Ranger watermelon. I'm not sure what I'm looking for there. Oh, I'm putting more Botanical on. I just wanted to beef up the green a little bit. I felt like it got lost in the brayering. And like I said before, I think a smaller brayer. I think this one is a 3-inch brayer. You know, if you have one of the smaller sizes, I think it might work better. And as far as stencils go, stencils that aren't super intricate are going to work better. That's got, you know, quite a few open holes, openings. And then I tried both cardstock and printmaking paper. They both worked equally as well. I liked, you know, the prints regardless of the paper. Tiffany also used just a regular printer paper, and that worked. So here's where I made my biggest mistake, and this is really critical. After you use your stencil, you want to make sure that all the alcohol ink on the plate and the hand sanitizer as well is completely dry before you add the alcohol lift ink. That's what I wasn't doing before. I was pulling it when it was all wet, and as I pressed, everything got really mushed together. I lost all of the definition in putting the lift ink on. So just make sure that everything is dry before you go to the step of adding the lift ink. So I like the texture that I got on this last print by allowing the ink to dry on the plate. You can see a lot of the texture from the stencil. What I didn't like is that kind of pinky brown background that I ended up with, and I think that is from too many passes over the lift ink. So I think if I do this again, I will use a smaller gel plate so that I don't end up having to fight so much to get an even layer of lift ink over my whole plate. And I think that will help. Tiffany did work on a smaller plate. So, okay, stay tuned for my next step. Okay, so here's my twist. I took a picture of one of the sketches from my sketchbook, a portrait from my sketchbook, printed it out on my inkjet printer, put it underneath a piece of tracing paper, and now I am going over it with some vine charcoal. And during this segment my head got in the way a lot, so I just cut those parts out. So then once I got most of the charcoal down, I just took a Q-tip and, sorry about my head, and you know, just smoothed it out a little bit, got some tone everywhere that I wanted tone, and then I'll go back in with the charcoal and bring back some of the darkness where I think I need it. And you could do this with any picture that you want to transfer to the plate. You know, whatever you want, just take a printout and put it underneath a piece of tracing paper and go to town. Black and white obviously works best. I've not tried this with like a pastel stick or colored charcoal, but I would think any of those things would work the same way. I can't guarantee it because I haven't tried it, but the charcoal does work good. I just use the vine charcoal because it's the smallest diameter piece that I have. I just think it's a little easiest, for me anyways, to trace with. So I'll just take my kneaded eraser now and pull out some highlights here and there. Just remove some of the charcoal. That's basically all it's doing. You just want to mush up your eraser every now and then because it does get full of charcoal quickly. So in order to continue to take it off, the kneaded eraser needs to be kneaded. And then you can just go around the outside and just clean up the tracing wherever you feel like you need to remove some of the charcoal. If there's spots on the outside, smudges that you don't want to transfer, yeah, just continue until you get your tracing where you want it. Okay, so then I'm just going to remove my tracing from the printout and put it down on my plate where I want it. And I'm not rubbing real hard here. I'm just lightly rubbing, but I'm rubbing for a period of time that I think I'm going to get, you know, a good transfer. And then check it, and I can see I'm getting some transferred, but not as much as I think I want. I just want to make sure, especially the features, get transferred really well. And the nice thing about this is once the charcoal is on the gel plate, it doesn't smear anymore. You can't move it. So then I take some matte medium and I'm going to lift it with the matte medium, so I'm not adding any color here. I'm just putting the matte medium on, which is clear, and I will pull the print while the matte medium is wet. So the opposite of the ink. The ink needs to be dry. The charcoal and matte medium needs to be wet. And then just brayer over it. The charcoal is not going to move or smear. It's going to stay exactly how you see it, which is a bonus. Nice, even, thin layer. You don't need a lot. Just need it to be even and ready to pull the print. So I took one of the prints that I made with the alcohol ink to use as my pickup paper. Spent some time making sure that I got good contact. I even used a jar to go over it several times to ensure that I had good contact and that I was going to be able to pull a clean print. You can use a Baron if you have one, or I'm checking to see, am I getting it all, am I not? Not quite all coming up, so just go back, check it. You can put it back down. It self-registers as long as you don't take the whole paper off, or take the paper completely off, I should say. You can pull it back till it's almost all off if you need to check different spots. As long as you don't pull it the whole way off, you can put it back down. So you can see all the charcoal is coming off the plate, and I did get some paper that stuck there at the top, and I think the matte medium maybe was dry there and acted more like a glue. And then here I'm just showing you quickly that the hand sanitizer will take off all of the charcoal from the plate, so you don't have to worry about that. Just clean the plate with hand sanitizer. Then I decided, okay, now I want to cover up the background around this face. So I'm using a fluid matte medium that's called micaceous iron oxide, and you aren't going to be able to tell on the video, but it's got a really nice sparkle to it. The metals that are in it, yeah, they sparkle. So I'm just going to speed through this. I'm just painting around. That's the dark spot there is where a little bit of the paper got pulled away, which kind of makes me sad, but this was just an experiment, so you know, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. So all right, I'm just going to speed through the rest of this painting process. I'll be back. I decided I wanted to lift some of the paint so that I could still see a little bit of the texture from the alcohol inks in the background. So I just dampened a shop towel, and while the paint was semi-wet in spots, I just wanted to take some of the paint off to reveal a little more of the texture from the alcohol ink and stencil back there. So that's what I'm doing here. But I got to a point where I thought the brown in the background with the black and white print was just a little too blah, so I decided that it needed to be a different color. So I grabbed my quinacridone magenta in the golden fluid acrylic, and I'm going to water it down, hoping to still save some of that texture in the background so that I can see through. It's a transparent color to begin with, but I'm just going to add quite a bit of water, make it real fluid, and go around this whole thing again with the quinacridone magenta. Here I'm just using a piece of a sea sponge and just lifting some of the, I wet it first and wrung it out, but I'm lifting some of the pink now to make it less opaque and see a little bit of the background and vary the texture in the background a little bit. So finishing touches here with a little bit of pink on the lips. Spread it out on the cheeks a little bit, and then off camera I did use a black marker to accentuate her eyes, and I added a little bit of blue color to her eyes as well. And there she is, and I really like the texture of the alcohol ink in the background and on her face and her upper body. And then here are the prints that I pulled. Some I like, some I don't, but you know what? They all can be torn up and used as collage. Those are the pull-off pages that I used for when I took the stencil off. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a little bit long, but there was a lot to cover and I had a good time. So thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Bye.